Jeff, you come into New Hampshire 7th in points with 2 wins this season. Just talk a little bit about being halfway and looking forward to the second half.
Well, I think we break it down a little bit different than that now with the chase. Even though we're halfway through the season, we only have a handful of races left before the chase and the real championship begins. So I'm pretty pleased with our season up to this point. Certainly happy about the 2 wins. I feel like we've been very fortunate the last few weeks to get some pretty good finishes to move ourselves up in the points. But I feel like we need to perform a little bit better than that if we're really going to not only advance in but also be a real threat for the championship. So I think this is a crucial weekend for us and one that I feel confident in. Very excited about this race, our setup, and our chances this weekend. So kind of at this point, you just have to keep taking it one at a time and see and hopefully improve each week.
Okay, we'll open it up for questions for Jeff. Please raise your hand. We'll get a wireless mic to you. Please state your name and affiliation. We'll start right here with Bob.
Bob Pocker, SceneDaily.com. I'm talking about trying to be a threat for the championship. When you look at the 48 and what they've done the last 5 years, what do you see that you're like, that's what we need to do to win the title?
Be really, really good in the last 10 races. Those guys, they've done it. When you win 5 in a row, you don't always do it the same. Well, at least in their case, they haven't. To me, they've done it in different ways. From dominating the season from beginning to end to not really showing that they were that strong until it really came time to do it and when it really counted most in those final 10 races. I think that it's a combination of they're a very strong team. They've had very little changeover within their team, other than maybe in the pit crew area. And so I think that it allows them to stay confident in what they're doing and what they're capable of doing all the way to the end of the season, and especially in the chase in those final 10 races. And I think those 10 tracks in the chase are very good tracks for Jimmy as a driver and them as a team as well. So that certainly works for him as well. You just can never count them out.
Questions for Jeff? Okay, we'll take one over here from Jeff.
Jeff Gluck from SBNation.com. I've seen a couple places you said you're going to the Congo. Is that right, in the off week?
I leave Sunday night after the race.
Can you explain about that? Why are you going on the trip? What are your expectations? What do you expect to see?
I became a member of the Clinton Global Initiative, what they call the LEAD group, which is just a smaller, younger group of philanthropists that have in all different areas of philanthropy, and it's a very ambitious group, a very prestigious group to be a part of. Obviously led by former President Clinton, and when you get into a meeting with this group of people and you've been brought together by President Clinton, you decide to do some very ambitious things, and one that we decided to do collectively as a group because we wanted to find an initiative that we all could be a part of in some way. Obviously, mine is at the time was with through my Jeff Gordon Children's Foundation pediatric cancer treatment research. So I wanted to know maybe what the health issues were abroad that I could be a part of. Others had women's rights. Some had as it deals with trade issues. It's a pretty amazing group. But so we decided our initiative to collaborate together was a refugee camp in the Congo. So first it starts refugee camps, that led to the Congo, because it's a very ambitious group. They want to go to the harshest environment and make the biggest impact. And so that was last July, and so at that point we decided that we needed to go and visit a refugee camp because it's hard to talk about it, and and to really say you're making a difference if you haven't really truly experienced it. So so we've been planning this trip, ever since, and this is the only time it fits in my schedule, and so I leave Sunday night, I get there Tuesday, I come back Thursday night, get home Friday. So it's a very quick trip, but there's a lot packed into a short period of time. My expectations are to see some jaw-dropping, eye-opening experiences that are going to change my life forever, and hopefully we can do some very good things to try to change that in the future.
Okay, we have a next question right over here.
Buchanan, Speedway Media. Can you talk a little bit about your visit to the food bank? We'll go globally to locally, and what that meant to you and the Drive to End Hunger campaign.
Well, and that's why I mentioned, at the time when the Clinton Global Initiative thing came up, my primary and only focus when it came to philanthropy was the Jeff Gordon Children's Foundation. Since then, getting to work with the AARP Foundation and AARP through Drive to End Hunger, it's been really inspiring to not only help nationally, but going into each one of these communities and make an impact on those that are suffering from hunger issues. So, it was great. That was my first time this year visiting one of the actual food banks that is collecting the food, sorting the food, and distributing the food. And so we donated a check of $10,000 to the New Hampshire Food Bank, and they really impressed me in how organized they were, how efficient that they are with the food that are either donated or that they're able to purchase through the funds that are donated. They're cooking hot meals over there as well that are being distributed out to boys and girls clubs and different organizations locally. So very impressive and great to see the dollars that are being donated by fans, by companies, and being brought together by AARP and the Drive to End Hunger program to see it at work.
Okay, our next question right here.
Hi, I'm Genevieve with Skirts and Scuffs. I see here that you have 3 wins here at this track, and I'm just kind of curious, what can you do to get your 4th win, and if you actually enjoy racing the flatter tracks more than the other tracks?
Yeah, I try not to ever have any expectations going into a track. I mean, I guess Martinsville, I really do feel like as a driver I can play a bigger role at a place like Martinsville than any other track we go to. I do feel confident in this track when we come here, but it still has a lot to do with the car and the setup. This track has some really unique things that make it challenging. The bumps getting into the corners, how flat it is. Goodyear has brought a little bit different tire here this time. Seems to have pretty good grip, so I'm liking that. And I'm here for the first time with Alan and his group of engineers, and they've been very strong here in the last couple of years. I've run well here with Steve and Robbie and pretty much every crew chief I've had here in the past. So certainly gives us a lot of confidence coming in here with our past history as well as what this team has done in the past. So yeah, I guess my point is, I don't look at a track and go, oh, that's a track that I know we're going to excel at. I wait till we get on the track and see what the car's doing. And today, the very first lap was not good. We had to make some changes. We made some changes, and you sit there and you think, boy, are we going to be able to get it fixed? And right away, they improved, and the next couple runs were very good. So that's what gives me confidence in the track is when the car feels the way it is feeling right now.
Okay, next question.
Paul Sherring, Monadnock Radio Group. Jeff, how important is it to start up front at this particular track? Because it's flat, it's not known as a great passing track. Is it real important to start up front, or is it just a question of wherever you start, just being patient?
Well, if you don't start up front, you got to have a lot of things go your way. And what I don't like is to make chance kind of come into play in good fortune of cautions to fall your way to have to get that track position. Ultimately, you got to have the track position, and that's the case no matter where we're at. And to me, I look at our season, and I mean at Phoenix, we qualified bad, even though we won that race, but we had cautions fall our way, and Alan made some great calls and took some big risks and chances on staying out, and it paid off. And that's kind of what you have to do if you start midfield on back. I mean, last week I started 14th, and we were stuck there and we couldn't move, and actually went backwards a little bit because track position was so important last week. And so these days you don't want to have to play the race out that way where you have to take these big risks to get that track position. It can pay off for you, but others might be thinking the same thing. What you really want to do is start up front, get a good pit stall, and your chances of staying up front are much greater that way.
Additional questions for Jeff? Okay, Dustin?
Dustin Long, Landmark Newspapers. Jeff, a couple things. Why did you branch out into that form of philanthropy? Obviously, you could have just stayed with your foundation and done all the things that you did. What led to doing that? And when you talk about going and doing something that you expect to be jaw-dropping, eye-opening, when you go into that, is scared almost the word of what you might see or how? Can you kind of further define it? Because certainly that's an experience a lot of people aren't going to have.
Sure. Well, the reason why I branched out is because the Clinton Global Initiative, if you go to their annual meeting, which I went to in December in New York, the people that are part of his overall initiative group, I mean, they're especially, and they have just a cancer department basically, and it's the leading cancer researchers and philanthropists in the world, that are doing amazing things to try to cure cancer, to try to come up with better treatments, and some of it's geared towards adults, some of it's towards children, so the networking that you get by meeting all these different individuals and collaborating and coming together, it broadens your spectrum of where the need is and how you can do a better job to reach out to and help more kids. That was our primary goal there, which has sort of led towards what we're doing in Rwanda, which I hope to go there later in the year. In December is what we're trying to plan. Rwanda is a little bit different than the Congo. I'll be honest, I didn't know a lot about the Congo, and as I've gotten closer and closer to this trip coming, I read more and more about the Congo, and I'm not saying I'm scared, but because I have confidence in who we have organizing the trip, and you look at the names on the list that are going with us, people like Ashley Judd, and I know we're in good hands. But then you read about the Congo and you realize that the government has a tough enough time controlling and keeping things safe. So there's definitely a little bit of fear that's built in there, and it's a long ways to go. It's a short trip, but I think it's very valuable. I think it's important to what our cause is about, and if we really are going to stand behind the work that we're wanting to do, how can you do it from that far of a distance without really getting in there and truly understanding it? So, I'm excited from that standpoint, but you see some of the photos and it's some of the worst living conditions that you could ever imagine. And so that's in a photo. So when you get there and you actually get to see it with your own eyes, I'm only expecting it to be worse. But I won't really. Just follow me on Twitter. I'll be tweeting all the way from the Congo, letting you know what's happening.
Jeff.